Good evening, participants. Welcome to the session Imagine Learning. After a series of prolonged discussions on the various education topics like NEP, 21st century, vocational skills, entrepreneurship, etc., we were deliberating on the what should be the next topic. And suddenly that eureka moments occurred, and we thought, what is the basic purpose of education? Is it to create job seekers or job creators or what? And that's how our topic got evolved for today's panel discussion, Imagine Learning. That's a basic purpose of education, to ignite thinking of young mind. And to that very purpose, I have with me the esteemed educational stalwarts from the schools across India. Joining me today is Manorma ma'am from, she's academic director, Tagore Schools, Faridabad. Mr. Dhirendra Singh, principal, Birla School, Plani. Ms. Sunila Athle, Principal, Amity International School, Vasundhara, Sector 6, Ghaziabad. Mr. Vivek Kumar, Vice Principal, Ambience Public School, Gurugram. And Ms. Anjali Agarwal, Principal, St. Mark's Senior Secondary School, Delhi. And Ms. Kalpana Kashyap, Principal, Shishu Kalyan School, Gurugram. I welcome to my each of the panelists, and I hope you are safe and sound and your school is also doing fine. Starting the session, Manoma ma'am, we would like to hear from you first. What should be the focus of teachers when I say imagine learning?
Namaskar. Happy New Year to all of you. As he introduced me as academic director of Tagore Public Schools, Faridabad and Palwan. Our schools belongs to a rural area. I met Sachin sir many times and discussed a long journey of a Tagore Academy. It is actually a school in a rural area, giving a quality education and striving for the better living of a child than whatsoever he got from the parent. So today is an honor to be among the galaxy of the educators. I wish all of you a very best of life, and I will try to put up in a capsule what I gained from the 47 years of experiences of this long journey that I started from 0 meter and today also not reached to my expectations. Anyway, as far teacher world is concerned, and Sachin sir said, what is imagine learning? Learning is a very close word to literacy, and imagine is a imagination. Imagination means when you can, in reality, whatsoever is written in the textbooks, or the concept is there, or the basic fact is there, that you could imagine. If you cannot imagine the earth is revolving around the sun, then there is no idea of teaching a child that earth revolves. You have to explain the child how the earth revolves, and teacher need to guide pupils to out of box thinking which should trigger their imagination. And I am thankful to this e-learning, and especially to Amity University. I know about you, and you people are doing a lot of webinars to educating us and to our students, and giving exposure to them that what is e-learning. You were the first one to start with the smart classes also, and that gives a big help. As for the perceptives of history, geography and science are concerned, they bring better results if imagination is added and visualization is there. Visualization help to clear the concepts and the doubts in the mind which a child could not think. I give you a one line example. My grandson yesterday saw a photo album where he saw my father is holding him. He said, I am the great grandson of your father. मैं क्या, yes, you are the great grandson. कहना, if Nanu is holding me, then why do you say I will live only for 5 years? That visualization has created anxiety and more questions to ask me, Dadi, why can't you follow the life of our great grandfather, so that you should be available when I get married or I come from USA after studying? That is called anxiety created by a one album and one photo. Likewise, the teacher, first thing a teacher should be prepared with the text and the content. I'm sorry to say it is not an attack on any teacher of my school or any other school, but it is my general observation that B.Ed is online and they people don't know what to teach, how to teach. And you and me and the other persons who are sitting on the dais, we need to train the teacher first. Teachers, many times when I go on round, I check till today also that they have started their lesson, but 50% class is looking out of the window. How a child can cut an eye on you? Teachers should be in the class, focusing all the 40 in and as we go to the PVR, when we see the movie, we see at the whole setup. We know टेबल के ऊपर लाल गुलाब रखा हुआ था, चप्पल पीले रंग का अमिताभ बच्चन पहना था. तो इतना अटेंशन जब हम वहां कंट्रोल करते हैं, a teacher should be so active in the class and so dramatic. अगर वॉइस मॉड्यूलेशन कर सकते हो तो वॉइस मॉड्यूलेशन कर लो, डांस कर सकते हो तो डांस कर लो, बच्चों को जेब में डालो. If you have put up your children in the pocket, imagination and imagine learning will come itself. And as you have developed the devices, these things will automatically help, and surely the subject clarity will be more. And for all this to bring out in the classroom, teacher need to unlearn and relearn the whole landscape of the pedagogy. And if teachers say that I should be there where I was 25 years back, and today's time I am not understanding and cannot satisfy the queries of a child. Problems are different in secondary as well as in the primary. Very distinguished problem. The first thing in the primary is to control the all rabbits. They are jumping in the classroom. How to control and how to make them listen to you. It is not that I'm talking, you are listening to me. It is very difficult to hold 5 years, 7 year child and tell him what are Asians, what are Europes, what do we get from the Europe, how he is concerned for Europe. So we are to make him interesting in Europe with समझो, खुश हो, देखो यूरोप जाओ, कैसे जाओगे, हमको दिखाना पड़ेगा. So teacher imagine learning के लिए teacher need to prepare out of the box, not only to the child but for herself also. First of all, book content, she should be well prepared, lesson to be very planned, and visualization should be there. Smart class should be there, class should be controlled. If the water you are filling in the pot and not putting in the right direction, water is going out of the pot, pot will never be filled. You are delivering the lecture, but lecture is not going where it should be. So all lecture, all content, all imagination, they are waste. Imagine learning means you explain the content to the level so that child could understand it and child could imagine that what my teacher taught. That is what I would like to say. Thank you.
That's really blunt, and the face of the world answer is there from Manorama ma'am, and we usually say that's her style of showcasing or providing the information in a way where one can understand, and that's how I have learned over a period when I have interacted with her. Thank you so much first once again, ma'am, for joining us, and stay with us. And moving to Sunila ma'am, to you. Now, one aspect that we have discussed about the teachers, what are your thoughts? What should be the focus of students when I say imagine learning?
Good afternoon to all the panelists and all the attendees. If I were to place myself in the shoes of a very young, innocent school child, I would first say, please open the gates of the school. I want to come in. I want to come in. I miss my friends. I miss my team. I miss my playgrounds. I miss the library. I miss the labs. I want to come back to school, because however effective and far-reaching technology might be, it has not reached the hearts and souls of our children. It may have polished their concepts. It may have, brought us a lot of ICT tools in our online teaching, but have we been able to touch the academic and the socio-emotional needs of every child? That is still a question mark. So this is what I feel first when I say imagined learning. The second time, if I have to ask myself as a child, what do you mean by imagined learning? It would be that I should have the liberty to paint the sky green and the apple white if I want to. Because school learning nowadays just tests my ability to memorize, rote learning, and a 3-hour pen and paper test should not judge whether I know a subject well enough or not. What about my creative abilities? What if I want to learn a particular topic in a different way, just not the way it is taught to me in class? So if I were a student, I would love to be taught in a way that is experiential, that makes me relate the concepts taught to me in the class with my everyday life, with the people that I meet around me. Does it have any relevance to what I see and hear around me? And secondly, it should be taught in a way that I do a lot of hands on, I experience it rather than just mugging up the value points or the points in the textbook. I should be able to understand the concept, to take it out from the four walls of the classroom, from the pages of the textbook, and apply to the world around me. And most important, it should teach me to value what I have. And in many of the schools in rural India, the child of today would still like to be taught through the vernacular language, because for many students of India, English is still L2 or L3, and they would like to be taught in the language which is their mother tongue. And this is something what the national education policy also would enforce once it comes into play, that teaching till class 8 through the vernacular might prove beneficial so that we can achieve our target of universalization of education. So this is what I would like to say when I say that imagined learning means what for the child. Because the 2 years have taught us that technology is a powerful tool, is a far-reaching tool, but it cannot replace the teacher in the class. Children still miss the human touch. Children still miss the eye contact of the teacher. You know, the child learns so much more because technological teaching has just been, passing off of heavy content and information. But a child learns much more when he is learning with his or her peers in a classroom scenario. So that is what I would like to say.
Truly,
Thank you.
I think the concept of experiential learning should be the way forward. And I really feel that there is a lot of scope at the school level. In fact, at the university level, we also try a lot of things regarding open learning, regarding experiential projects and all. I think this is something really to focus upon when it comes to students. Perfectly, right. Anjali ma'am, would like to come to you and taking the conversation from here onwards, vernacular language. I think uh, the topic has been touched at the right time. Now, Cumin and Swen has also asserted in 2016, mentioning that it is good for the psychological and the sociological support for the linguistic and academic learning for the students. Not only students perform better, but they are culturally representative in the achievement narrative. Students are more efficient when they approach new concept from the language of a strength. Would you like to counter this, considering India a regional territory, many languages, but focused on English? What is your thoughts?
Hello, everyone, fellow panelists, and of course, Mr. Sachin Juneja. It's a pleasure to be here in this group, and which is being hosted by Amity University. Of course, this is the first time I'm interacting with Mr. Sachin Juneja, and it's a pleasure. Let me speak my mind. First and foremost, once more, a little introduction. I'm Mrs. Anjali Agarwal, the founder principal of St. Mark Senior Secondary Public School, Mirabagh, New Delhi. I have been the principal for the past 31 years. And of course, I do speak from experience when I will be speaking further. I want to say that what I say may not go down well with all people, because everybody is entitled to their personal opinion. And my opinion is also tempered and flavored with the number of parents I have interacted with, the number of students I have met, the number of teachers I have also worked with. First and foremost, I do not speak against anything, but the NEP which has come out has fantastic points in it, but a few in which I do not personally agree. And the vernacular language is one of them. My contention is India, our wonderful country, has 22 official languages. And how many other languages and dialects we cannot count. Hindi in itself is just one of the official languages. It is not the national language of our country. You yourself know that if you go and speak Hindi in maybe in one of the South Indian states, you would not be understood. And the same goes to if you go to one of the Northeastern states. So there is no particular national language. We cannot compare ourselves with, say, France or Spain or Portugal, where there is only one national language. Our country is diverse. Our country has a lot of people and a lot of languages, a lot of customs, a lot of culture. And let's not go into English bashing. Fine, we were ruled by the British for a number of centuries. We were ruled by the British for a number of centuries, and I do not appreciate many of the things they did in our country because I am a loyal and a very patriotic human being. But if they have left us this legacy of a language which is spoken in so many parts of the world, why do we try to negate it? This language is a window to the world. And yes, I do agree that the mother tongue you're very comfortable in. Which child is not comfortable in the mother tongue? But let's look at another point of view. Children, especially in the age group of 3 to 8 and 10, can easily learn a number of languages at the same time. I have come across family in which the mother is speaking Bengali, the father is speaking Punjabi, and maybe somebody else, and the grandparents are speaking Hindi. And English is being taught in school, and that child is familiar and quite comfortable with all these languages. The ability of the child to learn 2 or 3 languages should not be negated. Children speak and learn without realizing how easy it is to learn a language. And learning a language is not in any way denying your culture. Our culture, our traditions, our way of life will not change by learning another language. And let us be honest that the parent of today, no matter what NEP says, no matter what they know is correct, that yes, the mother tongue is very comfortable for the child. But the child can still learn other languages if the child wants to. And without really feeling that it is a burden. You try learning another language at a higher age. At the age of 12, you'll find how difficult it is. But if you try learning another language at the age of 5, it's much easier. I give you my own personal example. During this lockdown of the pandemic which we have had to face for the last 1.5 years, I decided to learn another language. At my age, I learned French. Nice. Okay, I'm still stumbling. I do understand, and I can speak a few sentences and write maybe a small little paragraph or so. But I attempted this at my age, which if I had attempted it when I was a small child, I'm sure I would have managed it much better. So I feel that English should not be done away with. And teaching it after elementary level is, I'm afraid, too late. It's too late to teach a child when the child has passed primary school and middle school, and then you try to teach another language. It's as difficult as those children who are sometimes struggling with French or German or even Sanskrit as the third language. We know that children do struggle. I'm not talking about the toppers. I'm talking about the average child or the child who's just scoring 50%. He usually does not bother about the third language because it's not that important. is much more focused on the languages, maths, science, social studies, and the main language. Isn't that so?
Right.
So this is my my point of view.
Correct.
I find that that children are very comfortable in their mother tongue, but
True.
that does not mean that we should take away the importance of learning English, because it is a window to the world, and not for any other reason, but it gives our children much more opportunities in today's day and age. Thank you very much. I hope I have not taken too much time.
No, perfectly fine, and true. I think the points you have made is making sense, and would like to take views from our other panelists. But meanwhile, would like to go to Dhirendra sir, to you. Let me tweak a question to you, and let me put it out in a different way. As we started with Manorma ma'am, we discussed the school in rural area, and although the great efforts been put up by the Tagore School, it's another case study. But let's look at the other aspect. In the COVID time itself, there were 3 crore students, though, who didn't have any digital access. When we talk about government schools, it was the major attention and the motivation was the midday meal, due to which students used to come in the government schools. And with the COVID, of course, this has gone for a toss. We are at 94 number in 107 global hunger index when we talk about this. And here we are talking about Imagine Learning for students. How to overcome this aspect? So now, what is the importance of schooling in the poor state of society and awareness? What are your takes, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Juneja, for giving me time to share my opinion and views on this topic. This topic is very relevant, and since we are all under the lockdown and we are seeing the so-called third wave about to hit us, and since I am working in a boarding school, I can see the impact which this lockdown has created on the very young minds, right from class 5th up to class 12. That's the age bracket where I am dealing. And fortunately, I am working in schools where we are getting students from well-to-do families. Now, if that is the scenario in the upper strata of society, and all of us are aware of the fact that there is a very clear line of divide in the rural and the urban areas of the educational spectrum. It's a different world. You have a school where even the basic amenities like the chalkboard, the toilets, the roof on the classroom, that itself is missing. And then on the other side, we have got schools who are charging 20 lakh per annum fees. All right, so it's a very different kind of India which is emerging in next 15-20 years of time. And we are all going to live in that same society. Now, coming back to this question that what happened in rural India. Obviously, our country is a rural-based driven economy. We all know it. And Gandhiji talked about Gram Swaraj. So if India has to do well, this strata of the society which is living in villages and in the remote corners of the country, the benefits must reach to that corner. They need to improve. Couple of people sitting in Delhi and other metro cities, we don't make that India. India is a collective, it's collection of everyone. And the major dominant factor is the people who are living in villages. So if educational outcomes are impacted in the students coming from rural background, somewhere it is going to create a very serious dent next 10, 20 years, maybe even the impact will be visible in next 50 years. And not only in terms of economy, but also in terms of mindset and psyche. Children are getting disturbed, and there are various reasons for it. First moment lockdown started, everybody was happy. Oh, there is no school. That's the first thing. Okay, children were happy. Parents were a little worried, but they thought that, okay, we will be able to somehow manage. And we have seen that though schools where the material was supplied by the school online, even assessments were conducted, remedial sessions were also conducted. It was like a virtual school running on an online mode, a cloud-based school. But we have seen the outcome of that. It has been a failure. I won't count it as, but yes, somehow something has to be done. Whatever best was possible, we all did. In rural children, if you see, 20% of them have no textbook. 28% received no educational assistance. 29% did not engage in any kind of educational activity. And 66%, and it's a huge number, they did not receive any instruction related to their academic growth from their schools, wherever they were enrolled. And there were schools after schools, because of the tight economic issues, they got shut down. So there is a huge population which is just moving clueless what to do. And my take would be that if we want to improve, have some solution to this, what comes to my mind is some of the NGOs, they did try to do some good work. They pitched in, but that number is very less. Somewhere we have this feeling that, oh, teaching, it can be done by anyone, and anybody who can literate, who can identify some text and speak in a decent way can be a teacher. But teaching is a very specialized activity, and it becomes more important when you have to teach a rural child. Now, every village is a different village. हमारे देश में कहावत है कि 5 कोस पे वाणी और पानी बदल जाता है. That is the diversity of this nation. So we need to understand the rural setup where the school is located. And if community people, Sarpanch and the other district, the administration people, if they get together and form some small teams which are localized, and if these people can be engaged into the teaching activity, not merely just because they can read and write, but they must have that knack, because teaching is more of the social connect, the emotional connect, rather than just passing on the information. So we have to consider that teachers are professionals. They must get that due respect, which somewhere is lacking. I'm not talking of teachers in the elite schools or who are involved in the coaching centers. They have a different kind of respect which they get. But mostly if you see, oh, teaching, what it is, anybody can teach. We have to get out of this mindset. So teachers should be given that respect and recognition, and the society as a whole, they should come forward and they should recognize the efforts of the teachers. Non-payment of dues or fees from the parents, it's a big issue. All right, the schools have shut down, teachers are on road. There have been news items where I saw one of the principals selling idli vada sambar on the streets of Hyderabad. Now, if that is the scenario of the general perception of the public, it's very difficult that we, as a community, we don't support education. Right. Hotels and all hotels, malls, everything was booked on the New Year's Eve. We have been witness to it. And today, just before opening my system, I saw that Delhi is going to touch 10,000 fresh cases today. It's horrifying. All this is because we broke all the COVID protocol and jumped into, because for 2 years we were in a lockdown state. Mm-hmm. So somewhere community has to support the educational setup. Nothing comes free of cost. That is one. Second, especially in villages, the home environment in many of the homes is very disturbed. All right. So if a child needs to learn, the home environment must be supportive. It must be conducive to learning. So there are many social factors. And a father is drunk. The place where the child is staying, that area is in a disturb. There is an issue of law and order. Bagal mein koi mandir hai, wahan pe bhajan chal raha hai, and there is something, Ratri Jagran is going on. In that kind of environment, it is difficult for any child to learn. So we need to create that learning conducive environment. And thirdly, we should take help of technology. That's very important. But somewhere I feel that whatever resources are produced in our country, most of it is based in the urban area setup. Right? There are very few examples or cases which have been taken from the rural background. So if a child who is in a rural setup, if he is looking at these background, somewhere there is not a direct connect. That is issue number one. Second, we don't have that kind of digitally literate teachers. So there is a handicap on that side. So probably if teachers can be trained that how do we use these devices, sometimes it happens that use of technology is that you play a video in the classroom and teacher is sitting at the back and watching it. So it is more like a substitution work. That merely is not going to help. This technology can be aid, but what Manorama ma'am said in the beginning, that we have to trigger that button, how to unfold. All right, throw the child into the open water and the child will learn to swim. And from our examples, we all know that even if we land up into some situation where we are not familiar, but I have this feeling that yes, I can do it. Nature has blessed us with all those resources where I can successfully come out of it. Look at the COVID situation. None of us were prepared. But collectively, somewhere we have this belief that we can get over it. And to a certain extent, we are through. All right. So give child that supporting hand, let him explore, and let us not guide the child what kind of answer we want to have. All right. Let child come out with his own conclusions. And yes, we can give them supporting, so we can give them that support. But finally, the child should have that freedom to explore and to fail. All right, every time as teacher, I should not expect that the child should be a 90%. Even if child is not doing that well, but if he has this confidence that yes, there is somebody who is standing behind me like a China wall, that child is bound to do well. So three things. Teaching is a very specialized activity. One, the parents must be educated and a good learning environment needs to be created. They should not be put into any kind of domestic work if it is a study time. And third, the technology boost up and digitally qualified teachers. If we do these three things, I think we can change the educational scenario. Thank you.
Very nice, sir, and I appreciate your thoughts. Coming to Vivek, sir, simple question would like to impose to you, but would like to know your thoughts about it. Evaluation system. How far you are happy with it, and if anything, would like to recommend any changes?
First of all, Sachinji, I would like to extend my warm thanks to you for giving me an opportunity to be amongst these sensitive panelists. In fact, I would say sensitive, the kind of, in fact, very, very emotional when Mr. Singh was speaking, in fact. And as the passion with which Manorama ma'am has said, in fact, that comes only out of experience. And the practical, very pragmatic outlook towards the language which Anjali ma'am has shared. In fact, I'm really very fortunate, in fact, here. And maybe, yes, what you said, that is a very simple question, but it's very unfortunate, in fact, very, very unfortunate that we always look at school for providing a report card which gives an evaluation certificate eventually. We all, that's how we all had been grown up, in fact. In fact, amongst whatever panelist here itself has spoken 3-4 times, 60%, 90%. So we, even though how learn it, it's nothing against anyone, but our parameter of evaluation is only marks. That's a tragedy of our education system. So, dear friends, the other participants also, maybe you might find my views to be a bit radical, highly opinionated, but they are because of I came into this profession out of choice, that I am a very, very sensitive teacher who has always felt that if my kids are not doing well, then I am responsible for that. So with that kind of dedication, that sensitivity, I can assure that. To honest, if you say that whether I'm happy or not, it doesn't matter to me, frankly speaking, because I know what to do with my kids, what to do with them, because barring 10th and 12th, which board can take care of, I can take care of the rest of the classes, and there is nobody to question me in terms of that. Besides those subjects which board is doing or they have given guidelines, there are I have certain objectives and I can evaluate my students on them because they are very, very crucial to me. Besides those 5 subjects or 6 subjects, or maybe 2-3 work experience and those kind of things which they ask for. So it's not about being happy, it's being you Atmanirbhar Bharat ki baat ho, I am an Atmanirbhar in terms of educator. So we find out ways, what do we want, what is the objective, and what we can do. But since the question has been asked, so the answer should be according to the question. So evaluation term, I would say I strongly oppose the use of the word evaluation itself. In fact, it's my humble opinion, in fact, that CCE was actually eventually taken off because of the word evaluation. Had it been CCA, what is A then? Then it's an assessment. And it's a very, very marked, diametrically opposite view then. And it becomes much, much more open way to look at things. Because when we say, so that's the first part of your question, which I'm taking, in fact, that what is evaluation, what is assessment? And maybe the second, I can come to what NEP might be looking.
What are your suggestions to work it on this phenomena?
Yes. No, suggestions, to be really honest, in fact, suggestions are all there. All our, I would say, policy documents and everything, they're full of that. Okay. CC document itself was a beautiful document, in fact. But even at the end of it, oh, pass hua ya fail, matlab, what is this? But education is not a year-based thing, it's a continuous thing. Why do you want to take a test? Why do you want to assess? We want to assess for learning, of learning, by learning. What do you want, in fact? If that objective is not clear, then you are just writing A, B, A grade and 90 percentile. No, it doesn't go like that. In fact, the whole process, the objective was that we get the feedback so that we continuously assess, and that feedback comes back to the teaching again. And there is a loop which goes on and on. We don't have to tag when we evaluate. It's like a hallmark putting it is 99.9 percentile. When we evaluate, we put a tag. The certification can be done at 10th or 12th. But even that is a part of a continuous process. So first thing is, as educator, if we are able to understand that whether we are evaluating or we are assessing, then it becomes very, very clear what to do. Now, why I'm saying all policy, there is no rocket science. In fact, any teacher who goes to the classroom, what are the things they are looking? They have certain things to be done, learning outcomes, everything has been there. Now you teach, you assess according to them. If not doing, then you go back again till the child is able to reach those particular outcomes. Now, second thing, so that's the first part, is that assessment and evaluation are very different. And as educator, we should be focusing more on assessments rather than just evaluation. Then second part is that where do resources? NEP talks very highly of what the new way of assessment will be. And I'm really looking forward for that particular one. They are trying to build up a 360 degree, and those 360 degree, they say, is that teacher evaluation, teacher will be also assessing, self-assessment will be there, peer assessment will be also there, and a parent assessment will be also there. I think that's very, very welcome, but we'll have to wait how those mechanisms will come up. There will be an independent body of Parakh, which will be providing assistance to the schools and the boards for designing of the assessment parameters. So by the time, in fact, those things come, what do we do by that particular time? So I can always, in fact, there are two aspects to this particular one. What can we do? We can always go back to the CC document. We can incorporate that one, make certain tweaks, certain changes according to our own, because as Mr. Singh very clearly, it's a two India. I think they're no different. In fact, I fully agree with the kind of debate which happened some time back. There are two Indias, do India hai, do Bharat hai, ek India, ek Bharat hai. So we need assessment school to school. Okay? So that's very, very important. I cannot, an assessment system which is valid for my school may not be applicable maybe at Tagore school, at Manorama Ma'am school, maybe at some other school in a remote school. It depends upon what kind of kids are coming to my class, my school, and what are the objective and the vision of the school. Yes,
Right.
There can be certain core areas. I will take 2 minutes here. So first thing is the training of the teachers with regard to assessment. Yes, even if you have decided, we'll have 10 criteria, we'll do this. But are the teachers, yes, even assessment and taking assessment and making judgment or making, I would say, takeaways from that particular is a very specialized, a very scientific way. You cannot be judgmental. It's like going through a blood report. Assessment is like a medical test which are done by a doctor when you go for certain thing. But those tests doesn't tell you everything. These are just diagnostic things which are to be collaborated or corroborated with the existing ground realities, and then something can be done. So teachers need to be able to make good assessment tools. That's very, very important, in fact. And second, be able to create genuine, reliable data which can be helpful for them.
Right.
And the second part, what does a broad assessment report card, so-called, for a child can look like? Now, as of today, yes, most of the school gives an academic part, there's a scholastic part, and the other one we kind of co-scholastic, where there are grades regarding certain attitudes and those kind. But yes, I would say they are equally important. Academics is just 25% of that particular one. Rest 25% is the child's self-assessment, setting up goals, their mental health. Health itself only participates or not. No, health now has a mental health, physical health part also. There's skills, life skills which are needed. We need at least 5, 6, 7, 8 life skills, in fact, if we want our students to actually be prepared better for the future. And
Makes sense.
now, having them only on report card and doing them one off, I think again it doesn't serve the purpose. Are the student trained for that particular? When we say they are able to handle the stress, normally I think quite a lot of school has that as a life skill.
Right.
But are my teachers trained to look out for that particular thing, that rubric? What is to be done? Yeah, suddenly before examination they put up and one day they fill that particular thing. Is it fair for that particular child? Maybe that is why we don't look at those particular grades of those students when admissions are granted to new students, because we know how most of them are failed. Now, if we are able to devote some time to this,
Right.
and I think we can do a lot of, we can have that 360-degree on our own. We don't have to wait for a government actually to suddenly come
Done,
and
sir.
give us a diktat.
Done.
So that's it. In fact, there are.
I'd like to come back to you again, sir, with more thoughts on it. Thank you so much for the wonderful thoughts that you shared. Running short of time, Kalpana ma'am, to you. Use of technology now, maybe an year. I mean, this was my last year question also, but this year we are seeing it's still the same situation. use of technology. What is the way forward you see once COVID is over, or how would like to implement this further?
So due to the shortage of the time, first of all, thanks to invite me, Sachinji, and all the panelists. And it's my pleasure to get the exposure to Imagine Learning through the all panelists. Actually, the technology we can use more in Imagine Learning, as other panelists told. Imagine Learning is actually the picturization, visualization, and the mapping of the topics in content. And technology can help a lot in that. Like if we go for the videos of by Byju's or Vedantu and TuteMe, so the videos help a lot to the students to get the mapping of the topic, like photosynthesis if we are teaching them. And they go through the videos, they go through the topics through the videos of Byju's and other videos available on the YouTube. So it help a lot to them. They get the picturization of the topic. They actually, as the ma'am, I'm forgetting the name of the ma'am, they were saying, if we are telling them how the earth rotates towards the sun or around the sun, by the picturization, by using the technology, by using the videos or clips or pictures, we can make them more confident for the Imagine Learning. The picturizations will be more clear. They will more understandable to the topic, and they will be more connected to the content that teachers are teaching in the class. But as the other panelist was telling, I'm not getting the name again. So it is the balance between the technology and the personal touch. We can use the technology for the Imagine Learning, but it should be balanced between the personal touch also. As ma'am was saying, without teacher, it's not feasible to go only for the technology, and we will get the proper Imagine Learning in the classroom, and the students will also get the Imagine Learning without the teacher. Personal touch is still required. So I can say it's an amalgam or a blend of the personal touch and the technology. We can utilize the technology best if we are giving the personal touch to the students for Imagine Learning. Because mapping is not feasible without the personal touch of teachers. They can make them understand the map. They can make them understand the flow charts. If they are watching the YouTube or they are understanding any process in the videos form, teachers can make them what is the process going on, how it occur actually. They can stop it, they can pause it, they can make them more understandable. So according to me, definitely technology using is the best method to make them good in Imagine Learning or in experiential learning. But in the sense of practicality, experiential learning, experiments, this is the part of the teachers actually that we have to perform. As a principals, I can just let them, my teachers, to do. Okay, you can take help of the technology, but use your brain also to do the experiment in the class, to do the practicals in the class, to show them the charts, to show them the videos. Technology on a balance mode, not at the whole time you have to use the technology. There's a
Perfect.
shortage of time. I just bind out my words.
Sure, it makes sense. Sunila ma'am, what are your thoughts on it?
With ma'am that technology can make our lessons 3D, they can make it interesting, we can make it interactive, but it cannot still replace a teacher, because a teacher is able to address all the multiple intelligences of the child, whereas technology just makes the child a visual passive learner. The level of interaction, a child needs to speak, a child needs to draw on the blackboard, the child needs to come and attempt a sum on the blackboard. All these things, the human touch misses out when the technology comes in. Yes, we have very good softwares in the market that can aid the teacher. That is there. But what about the practicals? What about the project work? There are so many aspects of learning that go unaddressed when we only depend on technology. And when children come to school, they come for also socialization. They come to learn, as ma'am's, life skills, soft skills, because the school does not just hone the IQ of a child any longer. It is also the SQ, the PQ, the relationship quotient, the emotional quotient. All these things cannot be addressed by technology. So, yes, the 2 years have taught us that they are going to, ICT is going to be an integral part of learning. We have to take the best out of it and keep the rest for the good teachers. Because on the one hand, if we are grooming good teachers, if we are taking so much pains to develop the potential and the professionalism of every teacher through workshops and webinars, if we have these in-house training sessions for teachers, if the teacher is going to be groomed to that level, and if one fine day she is going to be replaced by a video, is it fair to for a country like ours to invest so much resources on teacher training if finally just a 2-minute video can do the same thing? You know, and especially children who are in the tender years, pre-primary, technology cannot be of any help for the primary children, because there they need to learn with their peers, through the teacher, through so many activities that are available for the teacher, and the resources that are available in a school. So hence I would say that technology is there to a certain extent, and also technology could not help where assessment was concerned.
Right.
Seen it in the past 2 years. There are limitations where assessment is concerned. And the second most important thing, we are missing out on children with special needs when it comes to technology. When the child comes to school, a child who has a learning disability or autism, we can address the individual need of the child, and we can customize our teaching strategies according to that. But technology doesn't aid when it comes to addressing the needs, special needs of our special children.
Right. Makes sense. Absolutely. Since we are running short of time, Manorama ma'am, I would like to have your quick comments on a very important question, and I'm sure you would be the best person to answer on it. According to annual stats of education report, number of students going to school in rural area is increasing, but fifth standard student is not capable of reading a textbook of second standard. They cannot solve even basic maths problem. So what is the remedy that you would like to suggest?
Sachin, sir, are you getting me, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
As far this problem is concerned, this has risen in the COVID time. Previously also it was prevailing. The students who are failing, if we check the copies, we will find that the child doesn't know the previous knowledge and the previous concepts. And that is not such a big issue that could not be solved. You know, for example, a very simple example I will give you. 3x and x raised to power 3. It is a 1 minute explanation and 20 examples a teacher could do in 2 minutes. And each and every child will understand 3x and x raised to power 3. Generally, the student of 8th class, 7th class, they commit this mistake. So there are many concepts are there which could be explained. And what I did, I briefed the concepts of second class comprehensively. I prepared third class, fourth class, and for that books I named Gap Education Complement. Now I see in Tagore, not every child has a internet access coming from the different districts, and even 3 siblings and 1 mobile. That was a big situation. You could imagine what will be the problem. I had 120 tablets I issued to them and put the software. I said, you use them. But when I found that this thing has grown so deep, that 6th class child, how will cover the 6th class when he has not studied 5th class, 4th class, 3rd class? So after the school hours, after 2, school closed, then from 2 to 4:30, I again put up an extra remedial class. That 5th class child will be taught 2nd class, 3rd class concept, and 1 hour a language class in which he should be able to read and write. If he is not able to read and write, so there is no question of teaching science and social study. One social study chapter question answer is in 5 lines. How a child can mug up 5 lines if he doesn't understand the meaning, what he is writing and what does it mean? So the language strong is the first question. Second, the basic concepts of the mathematics. Rest all problem will be solved. So I visited government schools also and got the students from there. I'm using my building in Palwal, giving them all labs and all that. I employed another staff for 2 to 4:30. So they will be teaching this gap education, so that If once the child has come to 6th class, at least up to 7th, he should be competent enough to run on the track, so that if we don't fill up the gap, then up to 9th class, he will be a student of 2nd class only. In the 9th class also, if up to the 8th class, whatsoever the algebra concepts or mensuration concepts are there, if you don't revise them and don't work upon them, then that gap will give a damage and damage and damage. कैंसर फर्स्ट स्टेज पर क्योरेबल है, कैंसर लास्ट स्टेज पर क्योरेबल नहीं है. डॉक्टर कहता है मैं एक्सीडेंट का इलाज करूंगा, मैं सड़कों पे एक्सीडेंट बंद नहीं करूंगा. कोई हॉस्पिटल सड़क के एक्सीडेंट नहीं बंद कर सकता जी. जो बच्चा कब नहीं पढ़ा, कब रह गया, किस कारण रह गया, it is the duty of me and a teacher to fill up that gap. गड्ढे भरो, कॉम्प्लेक्स वाले गड्ढे भरते रहते हैं सड़कों के, तो टीचर को भी ये जो गड्ढे हैं ये भरने हैं. अगर टीचर इस गड्ढे को नहीं भरेगा, दूसरे की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं लेगा, तो सड़कें, तो जब नई सड़क का बजट आएगा तभी मोटरसाइकिल चलाओगे क्या? मोटरसाइकिल तो चलनी है ना सर. तो फिर इसलिए गड्ढे भरो. गैप एजुकेशन को फिलअप करने की प्लेज आज के वेबिनार का एक ही संकल्प, कम से कम जब हम 6 लोग बैठे हैं, हम ये संकल्प जरूर करें, सुरक्षा चक्र नहीं तोड़ेंगे. अमिताभ बच्चन वाला, कोई बच्चा पोलियो के ड्रॉप से बचना नहीं चाहिए, और किसी टीचर के सुरक्षा चक्र में से कोई बच्चा नहीं होना चाहिए जो 90 से नीचे आए. बिकॉज मार्क्स एंड ग्रेड्स मेक एन एक्सपोनेंट. LSR में जाना है, MT में जाना है, तो 12th के बच्चों परसेंटेज लाओ. दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. जिस चीज को आप अवॉइड नहीं कर सकते, जिस सिस्टम को आप बदल नहीं सकते, आपकी उम्र का वो पड़ाव चला जाएगा, तो बेटर है आप उसके लिए तैयारी करो. सर मैं 47 साल से काम करती हूँ. I always fight for the quality education. I do agree, all round development, everything that we do side by side. But अगर उसकी इन्फोसिस में अपॉइंटमेंट नहीं हुई, 1.5 लाख की नौकरी नहीं लगी, तो पिताजी के 30,000 में पुश्त नहीं बदलेगी. हमारा काम है रेस को बदलना, नीचे वाले को ऊपर लाइए. अगर आपके पिता 30,000 कमाते हैं, तो अगली जनरेशन जो है वो 1.5 लाख पे आनी चाहिए. वो तभी आएगी गरीबों की जिस समय उनको बड़े से बड़े कॉलेज में, और हर बच्चा बिना सिफारिश के MT में भर्ती हो जाए और LSR में जाए और रामजस में जाए, तब फायदा है ना सर. तो हर किसी बच्चे के अंदर जो थोड़ी सी कैपेसिटी है, वो गैप फिलअप करने की भी है. दैट इज कॉल्ड अ लेटेंट टैलेंट. हर बच्चे के अंदर हिडन टैलेंट है, वो बताया नहीं गया इसलिए निकला. आप क्लास में किसी बच्चे को उठा के पूछिए, तुमने ये याद किया नहीं कि याद कर नहीं सकते, तुम्हें ये फार्मूला E = MC², तुम्हें पता ही नहीं. चलो मैं बताता हूँ, अब पता है या कभी ये पता लग नहीं सकता. एनी टीचर कुड से मी कि मैं ये पढ़ाना चाहता हूँ, मैं ऐसे पढ़ा ही नहीं सकता. There is no child to whom you can discard like this. He cannot read, he cannot study, but you are to make him study. उसके अंदर इंटरेस्ट पैदा करना, वो किसी की मोहब्बत में पढ़ ले, किसी के प्यार में पढ़ ले. सर मैं रात 10 बजे तक ब्रेड पकोड़े बना के और बच्चों को खिला के, मैं कहती हूँ 60% वाले बच्चे के 90 नहीं आए, तो भाई अगर एक 60 अपनी मर्जी से लाता है, शौक से लाता है. अब पंजाबी से कहते हैं 2 गल्लां होंदियां, शौक होंदा है तो खौफ होंदा है. खौफ के बाद फिर शौक हो जाता है. पहले माँ का खौफ होता है, भी रोटी नहीं देगी, हाथ नहीं धोगे, तो खौफ होता है, फिर वो आदत हो जाती है. तो इसी तरह हमें ये जो वक्त कोविड का आया है और इसमें जो इतना बड़ा लॉस हुआ है, सोसाइटी में किसी को लॉस नहीं हुआ. मनी इज नेवर अ लॉस. आज आपकी अगर 2 लाख रुपए इनकम घट गई है, तो उतना में टाइम तो कट गया ना जी. ये 2 साल तो कट गए, अब आगे कमाओगे, आगे खाओगे. लेकिन जिस बच्चे की जिंदगी के पढ़ाई के 2 साल चले गए, वो गैप कौन कवर करने की जिम्मेवारी लेगा? ना मोदी जी लेंगे तो ना सोनिया गांधी लेंगी. ये किसी ने नहीं लेना. ये मुझे और आप जैसे जो गुमनाम हम बैरियर है, टीचर जिनकी कोई इज्जत नहीं है, ये टीचर्स ने मिलकर इस गैप को भरना है. और मैं आपको सचिन जी अगर कभी दोबारा मिली, जो मैंने ये प्रोजेक्ट शुरू करा है, तो मैं आपको दिखाऊंगी कि मैं कितने % बच्चों पे जीती और कितनों पे हारूंगी भी, वो भी आपको मैं एक्सप्लेन करूंगी. हम गैप ईयर पे काम करेंगे सर, और सबको गैप एजुकेशन पे काम करना चाहिए, ताकि 2 साल में आने वाली पीढ़ी जो है उसका लॉस ना होए. That is my humble submission on this webinar. कि
I
सब
think this is
gap
great.
को fill up करें.
Wonderful. And this gap education, I think, is the concept. I think we will further deliberate more on, and we'll take it forward. Dhirendra sir, now as we are coming to an end to our session, what is the one thing you would like to implement, given a free hand, to bring India into a top 100 schools of the world? One thing.
All
Dhirendra sir.
right. See, somewhere as a in our India, we are driven by the marks race. All right. Each one of us, and as Manorma ma'am said, that because we cannot change the system, so it's better that you try to reach those set benchmarks. All right. So if we want to educate children in the right spirit, and especially the way artificial intelligence and virtual augmented reality and the technology is increasing, the way we are moving ahead, I don't see that it is doing anything good to our students as far as their future needs are required. So we need to create a system where somehow the race for these marks is stopped.
Okay.
All right, one. And especially at the age, up to the age of the school-going children, up to the middle school, there is a lot of freedom, and we should utilize that freedom as professionals and give the child that freedom to explore. My only message will be give that freedom to explore, and
Right.
even if the child is failing, give him the feedback that next time how he can improve. That's all.
Wonderful, wonderful. So freedom to explore is the keyword that I'll pick up. Anjali ma'am, would like to come to you. What was the one thing you would like to implement to bring India's in top 100 schools of the world?
Bringing India into the top 100 schools of the world right now seems to be a very tough task. But the most important thing is, I feel, pardon me if I'm I'm speaking against what most people have spoken. Let's leave this dependence on marks and percentages. Let's see. We talk about the countries who have reached there, who are considered the top where education is concerned, Finland and other countries. We often hear the name Finland taken. Do they bother about marks? They bother more about the child speaking, and reading and writing comes last for them. Speaking, understanding, doing things by themselves. Let's concentrate on that. Why? And I really am, Mr. Vivek Kumar, I have really appreciated what you have said, that assessment is the key and not evaluation. Marks are not important. Marks do not judge. I got 56% in my 10th. Does that make me any different, any better than, any less than anyone else over here?
Right.
Teachers who come to teach in schools, some of them are 80 and 90 percenters, and yet they enter a classroom and they can't handle the subject. They can't handle children. They can't do it. So marks are never the criteria in which a human being can develop. Let's concentrate on developing them intellectually, emotionally, and physically, and give them a happy time in school. I think once our children start loving school, enjoying school, we will be there among the top 100 schools of the world, 100 education systems. That's all I have to say. Education
Perfect.
has to be fun. If it's not fun, it's not worth it.
Education should be fun. So Neela ma'am, your take.
My last comment would be that this rural-urban divide, the schools which are the haves and the have-nots, let all the schools be at par, because children are precious, whether they are in the tribal lands or whether they are in the metro cities. Children are precious. The caliber of a child in a rural area is no less. So the school should be at par, and this needs big project, big thinking, big policy decisions, and big investments. And secondly, let every child understand that it is not engineering, medical that are the elite profession. Every profession, if done to the best of your ability, is a prized profession. So this is what, if we can integrate this in our schooling system, because why are the children running for marks and grades? Because they want admission in these elite institutions, which give these elitist jobs to them. But if we make them understand that even if you want to be a carpenter, be the best, get the best training and do well, that will give all the schools across India an impetus.
That's very right. I think this rather brings the lot of emphasis on the vocational aspect, and I truly appreciate your thoughts, Sunila ma'am. Last closing notes, Kalpana ma'am. One word you would like to bring up for the India's top education.
So, according to me, the top education, if you talk about in India, then it comes to the experiential learning, as ma'am was saying, fun way learning. When the students wants to come to the school, they want to learn through the fun way methods, experiential learning by doing. And it's not about the scores, marks. Definitely it's score and marks in the senior classes, but in the junior wing till middle wings, there should be everything practically. They should perform in the classes. They should attach with the teachers. Teachers will practically perform the lessons, chapters, content in the classes. Then we can say the education standard of the India is increasing, and the education standard of the classes is also increasing day by day in the classes. Teachers should be properly trained. As according to me, teachers are B.Ed. They are trained for teaching in the classroom. They are not trained to teach them practically. They are not using the aids properly. Now the technology has come due to the COVID. They are using that technology, but they are not using the technology with the proper aids in the
Right.
classroom. So according to me, it should be experiential
learning. Very right. Very right. And with this, we have come to a closing note of this wonderful session. And I can't thank you enough to our esteemed panelists. The value education you have provided and the concepts that you shared. The one of the great concepts discussed about teachers a learning part. I think this is something which is phenomenally now required for to grow up, to ensure our teachers get the best understanding, best knowledge, and to teach our students the best. Planning lessons, content activities, experiential learning. English not an option. English is mandatory. That is one of the comment that we received from Anjali ma'am, and I think it is a topic to be discussed and to be emphasized to our students, that to understand the kind of diversity we are into and how they should move forward in their life. And last important thing which I would like to put my views as a comment to this, that let's make teacher recruitment as a special impact to take the things forward. Vivek sir would like to have final comments from you.
I won't say final comments, but yes, there are two things I would like to maybe put across. Yes, the challenges are huge, in fact, as a country, and I think everyone has cited that particular one.
Right.
Maybe I was thinking pretty hard that you were asking one sentence, one word, and I think I was trying to think that how it can be done very easily also, because a lot of things need huge amount of funds. And I think the keyword from my side can be that personalized learning experiences. And that doesn't need, maybe yes, as a government system also, and as a school system, if we have a systematically done this as a whole process, then I think whole landscape of our education system can change dramatically.
Very right.
Besides that, adaptive testing. Again, since the personalized learning is there, so a testing cannot be a benchmarked. It can be only adaptive. And when you said learning, you imagine learning, in fact. Yes, I think they were wonderful ideas, but maybe I would like to throw it to my kids, my students in my class, that how do they imagine learning?
Imagine learning.
In fact, that will be the first point for me.
Right.
How to approach it, rather than what is my understanding of learning. It might be mine, but the important thing is, what do my student in my classroom think of learning? Because that should be the first point to go into a classroom.
I think this has given a good homework to all of the education stalwarts here and the attendees and the parents and all. Let's go to the basics, and the basics are our students. Let's have a discussion with them also, what they feel Imagine Learning is all about. I think we have got the next topic discussion with the students out there, And with this, thank you so much to our esteemed panelists for joining us today. Thanks each one of you for sharing your pulse of knowledge to us and joining us at Amity University Gurugram panel discussion. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.